In the heart of the Galactic Alliance, a grand event was about to unfold. The Galactic Piloting Championship. Aliens from various planets gathered to showcase their skills, and excitement filled the air. Colorful banners waved in the breeze, and the sound of laughter and chatter echoed throughout the arena. Brightly colored ships soared overhead, performing incredible stunts, captivating the audience below. But amidst the dazzling displays, one pilot stood out, not because of his ship, but because he was human. Ethan Carter was a young man with dreams larger than the universe itself. His eyes sparkled with determination as he looked at the shimmering spacecraft in front of him, the Orion's Edge. This ship was known as unflyable by many because of its complicated controls and unpredictable behavior. For years, no pilot had successfully navigated it through the intense course that lay ahead, which featured a treacherous asteroid field and tight corners that tested even the best pilots. As Ethan approached the ship, whispers filled the crowd. Most of the alien pilots exchanged glances, shaking their heads in disbelief. "What does he think he's doing?" one asked, a green-skinned Xinthian with a long snout and a sharp voice. "He'll never make it. He's just a human. They have no chance in this competition," scoffed a tall, blue-skinned Silurian, crossing his arms. Their laughter echoed, but Ethan remained focused. Ethan's past was not typical for a pilot. He had grown up on Earth, dreaming of flying through the stars. He had trained for years, studying every detail of starship mechanics and piloting techniques. He had spent countless nights in simulators, mastering every maneuver. Now, standing before the Orion's Edge, he felt the weight of his dreams resting on his shoulders. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Ethan climbed into the cockpit. The interior was cramped and filled with buttons and screens. He took a deep breath, adjusting his helmet. "This is it," he thought. "I can do this." The announcer's voice boomed across the arena, calling all pilots to their ships. "Welcome, everyone, to the Galactic Piloting Championship. Prepare for the first round." The crowd erupted in cheers, their enthusiasm electrifying the atmosphere. Ethan's heart raced as he powered up the Orion's Edge. The ship shuddered, and warning lights flickered. "Come on, not now," he whispered to himself, glancing at the controls. He took a moment to steady his nerves. He remembered his training and the countless hours he had spent preparing for this moment. As the countdown began, Ethan focused on the mission ahead. The ship roared to life, and he felt a rush of adrenaline. "This is my chance to show them what humans can do," he thought. He glanced at the other pilots, who were now seated in their sleek and advanced vessels. Many of them were seasoned professionals, their eyes filled with confidence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. The starting signal blared, and Ethan launched into the air, the Orion's Edge trembling beneath him. At first, he struggled to control the ship. The steering felt off, and the ship darted to the left. But Ethan remembered his training. He adjusted his grip and focused on the controls. With every second that passed, he gained more confidence. He began to maneuver through the initial obstacles, his heart pounding with excitement. The crowd watched in disbelief. Ethan was not backing down. He was proving that humans could fly, even in the most challenging conditions. The alien pilots, who had laughed at him before, were now watching closely, their expressions changing from ridicule to intrigue. As he entered the first turn, the ship screamed, and Ethan leaned into the curve, feeling the G-forces push against him. He maneuvered through the course, gaining speed. The audience roared with excitement, and Ethan felt a surge of determination. He was no longer just a human pilot. He was here to prove himself. Suddenly, an unexpected obstacle loomed ahead. An asteroid field, the most dangerous part of the course. The crowd gasped, and the alien pilots exchanged worried looks. Ethan took a deep breath, focusing on his training and instincts. "I can do this," he told himself. With the asteroid field ahead, the stakes had never been higher. Ethan gripped the controls tightly, determined to navigate the treacherous path. As the crowd held its breath, he aimed the Orion's edge straight into the heart of the chaos, ready to show everyone that humanity could overcome any challenge, even when the odds were stacked against them. "You said." The atmosphere around the arena crackled with anticipation as Ethan hurtled towards the asteroid field. The crowd fell silent, their eyes fixed on the display screens that showed his ship zooming closer to the swirling mass of rock and debris. This was it, the moment that would define his journey and perhaps humanity's place in the galaxy. Ethan's heart raced. He focused on the screen in front of him, which flickered with data about the incoming asteroids. Some were small and fast, while others were massive and slow. "I need to think fast," he murmured, his fingers flying over the controls. He activated the ship's navigation system, which highlighted the safest route through the chaos. As he approached the entrance of the asteroid field, Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline. The Orion's edge vibrated violently, responding to his every command. He banked sharply to the right, avoiding a jagged rock that shot past like a bullet. The ship shook, and Ethan gritted his teeth, determined to keep control. "Come on, baby, hold together," he whispered, urging the ship onward. Meanwhile, the alien pilots watched from their ships, their expressions a mix of disbelief and intrigue. "How is he doing this?" one Xinthian pilot asked, scratching his head. This ship was supposed to be impossible to fly. The blue-skinned Silurian, who had laughed at Ethan before, was now leaning forward in his seat, his eyes wide. "He might actually make it," he exclaimed, astonished at the human skill. Ethan dodged another asteroid, narrowly escaping a collision. The roar of his engines filled the cockpit, drowning out the noise from the audience. He navigated through a tight cluster of rocks, threading the needle with precision. The ship trembled under the strain, but Ethan's determination only grew stronger. He recalled the countless hours he had spent in simulators, practicing for moments like this. He remembered the words of his instructor, "When things get tough, trust your instincts." With that mantra in mind, Ethan pushed the ship harder, feeling the G-forces press against him as he maneuvered at incredible speeds. The asteroid field opened up before him, revealing a narrow passage that twisted like a snake. This was the moment to show everyone what he was made of. With a deep breath, he aimed the Orion's edge straight into the heart of the winding path. As he entered the narrow passage, the walls of the asteroid field closed in around him. He felt as if he were flying through a tunnel of chaos, with rocks swirling around him. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, and sweat dripped down his forehead. The ship rattled violently, and he gripped the controls tightly. Suddenly, an enormous asteroid loomed in front of him, blocking his path. Panic surged through him, but he quickly assessed the situation. He could either slam on the brakes and risk a crash, or make a daring maneuver. "I have to go for it," he decided. With a flick of his wrist, Ethan turned the ship sharply to the left, skimming the surface of the giant rock. The Orion's edge nearly scraped against it, but he emerged from the other side unscathed. A roar of excitement erupted from the crowd, and Ethan's heart soared. "Did you see that?" the Xinthian shouted in disbelief. "He actually did it." The Silurian nodded, his previous skepticism replaced by admiration. "This human is no ordinary pilot," he said, awe evident in his voice. Ethan continued to weave through the asteroid field, each turn more daring than the last. The rush of adrenaline made him feel alive. He could hear the cheers of the crowd, their encouragement fueling his determination. He was not just flying. He was fighting against every doubt and expectation placed on him. As he exited the asteroid field, the cheers grew louder, filling the air with energy. Ethan couldn't help but smile, a wave of pride washing over him. He had not only survived but thrived in the most challenging part of the course. But as he flew toward the next segment, a shadow fell over him. He looked up to see a massive alien ship, a cruiser from the Galactic Alliance, hovering above. The council members aboard were watching intently, their expressions unreadable. Why are they watching? Ethan thought, a sudden chill running down his spine. Had he impressed them, or was there something more at play? He steeled himself for what lay ahead, reminding himself that he was a human among aliens, determined to show them that humanity could face any challenge and emerge victorious. As he prepared for the next obstacle, Ethan knew that he was fighting not just for himself, but for every human who dared to dream of the stars. The real challenge was just beginning. Ethan emerged from the asteroid field, exhilarated and full of determination. However, as he glanced at the course ahead, his heart sank. The next challenge was a vast, swirling energy vortex, its bright colors dancing like flames. It looked ominous, and Ethan could see other pilots hesitating, unsure of how to approach it. He activated his ship's scanner, which pulsed with data about the vortex. Strong gravitational pull, high electromagnetic interference, Ethan muttered, reading the information. But if I can ride the edge of the vortex, I can use its energy to gain speed. As he calculated his approach, the alien pilots watched from their ships, murmurs of disbelief rippling through their ranks. "He's going to try and enter that thing," one pilot exclaimed, his voice full of skepticism. The Xinthian scoffed. "Humans are reckless. He'll never survive that." The Xilorian, however, shook his head. "No, he's smarter than that. He knows what he's doing." Ethan took a deep breath, calming his racing heart. He remembered his training, all the simulations he had run. This was his chance to prove that humanity was more than just a footnote in the galactic narrative. As he approached the vortex, Ethan felt a surge of energy. He could see the colors swirling, bright and inviting, but he knew the danger it posed. "Here goes nothing," he whispered, gripping the controls tightly. He steered the Orion's edge towards the edge of the vortex, feeling the ship tremble with the power of the forces around it. Just as he reached the entrance, he punched the throttle. The ship lurched forward, and he maneuvered into the vortex. The inside of the vortex was a kaleidoscope of colors, twisting and turning around him. The gravitational forces pulled at the ship, making it difficult to maintain control. Ethan's focus sharpened. He had to trust his instincts. With every pulse of the vortex, he adjusted his trajectory, letting the energy guide him while fighting against the pull. He could hear the gasps of astonishment from the audience as they watched the human pilot navigate the chaotic energy field. "Look at him," one of the Xinthian pilots shouted. "He's doing it. He's actually flying in there. Can he handle it?" The Xilorian replied, eyes wide. "He's taking a huge risk." Ethan felt the ship shake violently, but he refused to back down. "I can do this," he repeated to himself, his confidence growing. He could sense the vortex's rhythm, and he began to ride its waves. Each twist and turn felt like a dance, and he was the partner leading it. But then, disaster struck. A sudden surge of energy exploded from the center of the vortex, sending shockwaves rippling through the swirling colors. Ethan struggled to maintain control as the ship was jolted sideways. His heart raced as alarms blared in the cockpit. "Hold on, hold on," he yelled, fighting against the forces trying to pull him off course. With sheer willpower, he fought back against the chaos, feeling every ounce of strength in his body. In a moment of instinct, he made a split-second decision. He turned sharply to the left, using the vortex's momentum to his advantage. The ship shot forward, propelled by the very energy that had threatened to throw him off course. Ethan burst out of the vortex, and the sight that greeted him was awe-inspiring. Before him lay the final stretch of the course, a series of floating platforms that required precision and timing. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices rising like a tidal wave. But there was no time to celebrate. He had to focus. He maneuvered the Orion's edge towards the first platform, gauging the distance. Just like in the simulator, he reminded himself, heart pounding in his chest. As he landed on the first platform, Ethan felt a rush of triumph. But there was no rest for the wicked. He had to move quickly, for the platforms were spaced apart, each requiring careful navigation to reach the next. With each jump, Ethan's confidence grew. He was no longer just a human pilot. He was a force to be reckoned with. The alien pilots, watching from their ships, exchanged glances of shock and admiration. "What is this human made of?" the Xinthian pilot whispered, his bravado replaced with respect. "Grit and determination," the Xilorian replied. "He's showing us what humans can do." Ethan reached the final platform, and he could see the finish line ahead. The crowd roared in approval, their excitement palpable. He took a deep breath, preparing for the last leap. With a final burst of speed, Ethan launched the ship off the platform and into the air. The Orion's edge soared over the finish line, and the cheers reached a deafening crescendo. Ethan had done it. He had not only navigated the impossible, but had shown the galaxy that humanity was capable of greatness. As he landed, his heart swelled with pride. He was ready to take on whatever came next, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. Ethan barely had time to catch his breath before alarms blared in his cockpit once again. As his ship, Orion's Edge, hovered triumphantly past the finish line, a new threat loomed. Alien warships, massive and menacing, appeared on the horizon, their engines roaring as they approached. These weren't spectators or challengers. They were a fleet of alien ships, ready to assert dominance. The alien pilots who had doubted Ethan moments before now found themselves caught in the middle of something far bigger than a mere race. Panic rippled through their ranks, but Ethan's resolve only hardened. He had already proven that he could navigate through the deadliest asteroid field, and now he had to survive this new confrontation. "Captain Mira, do you read me?" Ethan spoke into his comms, his voice calm but firm. Mira, the leader of the human forces, responded instantly. Her voice was tense but filled with confidence. "Ethan, we've got eyes on you. That fleet is no coincidence. They've been watching, waiting for the right moment. The Council must have sent them to pressure us into retreating." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Let them try. We're just getting started." His scanners beeped wildly, signaling the incoming enemy ships. They were unlike anything he'd seen before, sleek, highly advanced, and bristling with weapons. But as intimidating as they were, Ethan wasn't about to back down. Back at the Galactic Council, tension was at an all-time high. The council members stared at their monitors, watching the events unfold in real time. The Xinthian and Silurian ambassadors exchanged uneasy glances, while the more aggressive factions openly advocated for pressing the attack. "They'll crush him," one of the council members said smugly. "No human pilot stands a chance against the Draxan fleet." Another member, one who had been silent for most of the meeting, spoke up. "Perhaps, but the humans have a way of surprising us." Ethan, back in the cockpit, quickly assessed his situation. His ship wasn't built for full-on combat, but he had one advantage that the others didn't: his ability to think outside the box. As the alien fleet closed in, he scanned the surrounding space. The asteroid field was still nearby, and its chaotic nature could serve as the perfect cover for an unexpected counterattack. "All right," Ethan muttered to himself. "Time to show them what humans are really made of." He veered the Orion's Edge back towards the asteroid field, his fingers dancing over the controls. The alien warships pursued, weapons ready, but Ethan had no intention of meeting them head-on. Instead, he weaved between the asteroids with the same precision he'd demonstrated earlier, forcing the alien ships to follow. Inside the Draxan warships, the alien pilots struggled to keep up with Ethan's movements. Their advanced ships were designed for open space combat, not the chaotic environment of an asteroid field. Frustration grew as they realized they couldn't predict Ethan's next move. "Stay on him," barked the commander of the Draxan fleet, but it was too late. Ethan had already led them deep into the most volatile section of the asteroid field. With a daring twist of the controls, he activated the ship's boosters, speeding through the narrow gaps between the asteroids and forcing the Draxan ships to give chase. Then, in a maneuver that left the alien pilots stunned, Ethan abruptly cut his engines and allowed his ship to drift. The Draxan ships, caught off guard, overshot his position, their sensors scrambling to reacquire his location. It was the opening Ethan needed. Without hesitation, Ethan reignited the engines and launched a barrage of countermeasures. Flashes of bright light and bursts of electromagnetic energy. The asteroid field lit up with explosions, disorienting the alien fleet and causing several of the warships to crash into the asteroids. The remaining ships, now wary of Ethan's tactics, pulled back to regroup. But the damage was done. Ethan had bought enough time for Captain Mira and the human fleet to arrive. The Orion's Edge soared out of the asteroid field just as the human ships entered the battle, guns blazing. Ethan's voice crackled over the comms. "Mira, you're just in time," she chuckled. "Wouldn't miss it for the world. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate humanity." The battle that followed was fierce and unrelenting. The alien fleet, though powerful, was no match for the combined might of the human forces and Ethan's daring maneuvers. As the tide of the battle turned in favor of the humans, the Galactic Council watched in stunned silence. "They thought we'd run," one of the council members muttered. "They fought wrong." Ethan, now a legend in the making, flew alongside Captain Mira as the last of the alien ships retreated. He had not only survived the impossible, but he had also shown the galaxy what humans were capable of when pushed to their limits. As the battlefield quieted and the human ships regrouped, Ethan couldn't help but smile. The message was clear. Humanity was just getting started. As the alien warships drew nearer, Ethan's heart raced. The shimmering hulls of the ships reflected the cold starlight, their weapons primed and ready. He could almost feel the weight of their gazes, filled with both disbelief and fear. How could a human pilot, alone in a seemingly outdated vessel, challenge their might? Ethan felt a wave of adrenaline wash over him. He knew he had to act fast. "Mira, I'm going to initiate a maneuver sequence that will give them a show they won't forget. We can't let them think we're weak." "Be careful, Ethan," Mira replied, her voice laced with urgency. "Remember, you're not just representing yourself. You're showing the galaxy what humanity can do." With a nod, Ethan activated his ship's holographic interface. He needed to use every trick he knew. The controls of Orion's Edge were still unresponsive to him, but he wouldn't let that stop him. He switched to manual control and prepared to engage the enemy. The first alien ship fired its plasma cannon, a brilliant flash of light cutting through the darkness of space. Ethan expertly veered Orion's Edge to the side, narrowly avoiding the blast. The energy surged past him, illuminating his cockpit in a harsh glow. He could hear Mira's voice echoing in his ear, urging him to keep moving. "Ethan, don't forget your training. Use the asteroid field to your advantage." Mira encouraged, her faith in him a constant source of strength. With her words in mind, Ethan banked the ship toward the asteroid field they had just navigated. He knew it was risky, but it was their only chance. The alien warships, now regrouping and adjusting their strategy, were not accustomed to human unpredictability. He wove through the massive asteroids, each movement calculated but swift. The cockpit vibrated as rocks grazed the hull, and the ship's shields flared with each near miss. Ethan felt a rush of exhilaration as he executed a daring roll, causing one of the pursuing alien ships to collide with an asteroid, sending debris flying in every direction. The remaining alien pilots exchanged shocked glances. Their confidence began to waver as they witnessed a human outmaneuvering them in a way they had never thought possible. Ethan's name would soon echo through the halls of the Galactic Council, not as a mere pilot, but as a symbol of human resilience. "Keep pushing forward." Mira's voice crackled through the comms. "They can't predict your next move." Ethan took a deep breath, focusing on his surroundings. The asteroids were both an obstacle and a tool. He danced among them, using their massive forms for cover while launching surprise counterattacks at the alien fleet. Laser blasts flew past him, but each near miss only fueled his determination. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Ethan's mind. He remembered a maneuver he had learned in the training simulations, a sharp dive followed by a steep ascent. It was risky, but if he timed it right, he could cause the alien ships to misfire at each other. "Ethan, what are you thinking?" Mira asked, sensing his sudden change in strategy. "Trust me," he replied confidently. With one final glance at the approaching ships, he initiated the dive, spiraling down toward an incoming asteroid. The alien ships followed him closely, believing they had cornered him. As he neared the rocky surface, he pulled back on the controls, thrusting the ship upward with all his might. The maneuver was executed flawlessly. The nearest alien ship, unable to adjust in time, smashed into the asteroid he had just avoided. A deafening explosion erupted in the vacuum of space, a brilliant firework against the dark canvas of the cosmos. Ethan felt a surge of triumph. "One down," he shouted, barely containing his excitement. But the fight wasn't over. The remaining ships were still pursuing him, and their tactics were shifting. They were now more cautious, learning from their mistakes, and Ethan had to remain one step ahead. "Stay sharp, Ethan," Mira reminded him, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They'll try to surround you. You have to break free and regroup with our forces." Ethan nodded, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He could feel the tides turning, and he was determined to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. With his heart pounding, he prepared for the next move in this high-stakes dance of survival. "Let's show them what we can do," he declared, plunging back into the fray, ready to prove that humanity could thrive against all odds. The remnants of the alien fleet regrouped, forming a tight formation to block Ethan's escape. Their ships were sleek and powerful, contrasting sharply with the battered but nimble Orion's Edge. As Ethan took a moment to catch his breath, he realized that the tide of battle was shifting, and he had to act quickly to regain the advantage. "Mira, we need a distraction," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "If I can draw their fire, can you set off the ship's flares to confuse them?" "Good idea," Mira replied. "I'll prepare the flares. Just give me a signal when you're ready." Ethan felt a rush of determination as he steered the ship toward the asteroid belt once more. He knew that the tight formations of the alien ships would make it hard for them to shoot without hitting one another. His heart raced as he darted through the jagged rocks, using their natural cover to avoid the alien weaponry. As he approached the formation, he activated the ship's communication system, sending a message to the crew stationed at the base nearby. "This is Ethan. I need support. Prepare for a surprise attack on the left flank." "Copy that, Ethan. We're on our way," came the quick response. With that, Ethan executed a daring maneuver, pulling hard on the controls and sending Orion's Edge into a steep ascent, climbing above the alien ships. The sudden rise took the aliens by surprise, and they scrambled to adjust their targeting. "Now, Mira," Ethan shouted, watching the enemy ships cluster together in confusion. Mira hit the flare button, and a dazzling array of lights erupted from Orion's Edge. The bright, colorful flares burst into the darkness of space, casting a rainbow of colors against the stark backdrop of stars. The alien ships fired indiscriminately, their weapons discharging into the brilliant confusion. Bright explosions lit up the area as their blasts either hit each other or missed Ethan entirely. "Nice work," Ethan laughed, feeling the thrill of the moment. "Let's give them something else to think about." With the alien ships distracted, Ethan dove back into the fray, expertly weaving between the asteroids and making sharp turns that showcased his piloting skills. He could see the enemy's confidence slipping as they struggled to keep up with his unpredictable movements. Suddenly, the distant sounds of approaching ships reached his ears. Support had arrived. A small fleet of human vessels, freshly reinforced and eager for battle, emerged from behind a nearby moon. Ethan felt a surge of hope. This was his chance to turn the battle in their favor. "Ethan, we're here," the lead ship's captain announced over the comms. "What's the plan?" "Follow my lead," Ethan replied, excitement building. Let's flank them while they're still disoriented. The human ships charged forward, taking advantage of the chaos that Ethan had created. With coordinated precision, they joined forces with him, unleashing a barrage of laser fire onto the stunned alien fleet. Ethan led the charge, guiding his team through the asteroid field with ease. The alien ships, already shaken from their earlier mistakes, struggled to reposition themselves. The humans had transformed from an underdog into a formidable force. Ethan's heart swelled with pride as he saw his fellow pilots working together, each maneuvering skillfully, firing at will. The aliens, now on the defensive, began to falter under the relentless assault. "Stay focused, everyone." Mira's voice rang out through the comms. "We can win this." With renewed energy, Ethan executed daring maneuvers, pushing Orion's edge to its limits. He avoided incoming fire while also targeting the alien ships, delivering calculated shots that took down their shields. One by one, the enemy ships began to explode in brilliant flashes, sending debris scattering into the void of space. "Keep it up," Ethan shouted, exhilaration flooding through him. "We're almost there." But just as victory seemed within reach, an enormous alien warship emerged from behind a nearby asteroid. Its size dwarfed the other ships, and Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The colossal vessel was unlike anything he had encountered before, bristling with weapons and shields. "Ethan, we need to fall back," Mira warned, sensing the change in the tide. "That ship is dangerous." "No way," Ethan replied defiantly. "We can't let them regroup. This is our moment." Summoning every ounce of courage, Ethan and his team pressed forward, determined to take down the alien flagship before it could retaliate. He knew this was a critical moment, and humanity had to show its strength. "Let's finish this," he shouted, leading the charge toward the massive warship, ready to prove to the galaxy that humans were a force to be reckoned with. As he closed the distance, Ethan knew this was the fight that would define humanity's place in the universe. Ethan's heart raced as Orion's edge hurtled toward the massive alien warship. The colossal vessel loomed like a dark shadow against the stars, its powerful weapons gleaming menacingly. The crew of Orion's Edge knew they were facing the biggest challenge of their lives, but they were ready to stand their ground. "Prepare for engagement," Mira commanded, her voice steady amidst the chaos. "We need to disable their weapons systems before they can fire on us." Ethan nodded, his fingers dancing over the controls. He had to focus. The alien warship was formidable, but the humans had come too far to back down now. He could feel the adrenaline coursing through him, urging him onward. The other human ships fanned out around him, ready to provide cover and support. As they closed in, the alien warship began to unleash a barrage of energy blasts. Ethan expertly maneuvered Orion's Edge through the incoming fire, feeling the heat of near misses. His crew cheered him on, their voices echoing in his ears. "Watch out for those turrets," Mira yelled, pointing out a line of spinning weapons on the warship's surface. Ethan steered sharply to avoid the deadly projectiles, relying on his instincts honed from countless training sessions. Suddenly, the comms crackled with urgency. "We've got multiple enemy fighters incoming," shouted the pilot of a nearby human ship. "They're trying to flank us. Hold the line," Mira shouted back, rallying the crew. "Ethan, take the lead. We'll cover your six." With determination fueling him, Ethan dived toward the alien warship, aiming for its vulnerable underbelly. The ship rocked violently as energy blasts exploded around them, but he pressed on. The exhilaration and fear mingled in his gut as he focused on the task at hand. "Now, Ethan, fire at those weapon arrays," Mira commanded. Ethan locked onto the warship's weapon systems, unleashing a torrent of laser fire. The blasts hit their mark, and he watched in triumph as explosions erupted from the warship's hull. The enemy's weapons began to flicker and sputter, their defenses weakening. "Great shot," Mira cheered. "Keep going." But the warship was not done yet. It turned its massive cannons toward Orion's Edge, The ominous hum of energy charging up filled the cockpit. "Ethan, get out of there," Mira shouted, panic lacing her voice. In a split-second decision, Ethan pulled hard on the controls, yanking the ship into a steep climb. The cannons fired, but the shot missed as he soared upward. Cutting it close. He laughed, exhilarated. "Let's keep the pressure on." But just then, an explosion rocked the ship. One of the alien fighters had managed to sneak in close and fired a devastating shot, hitting the starboard engine. Alarms blared as the ship shuddered violently, sending Ethan and Mira crashing against their harnesses. "Status report," Mira yelled, trying to assess the damage. "Engine 1 is down." "We're losing power," came the frantic reply from the engineer. "We need to stabilize it, or we'll be sitting ducks." "Ethan, can you get us close enough to the warship? We need to finish this," Mira urged. He glanced at the damage reports and back at the menacing warship, which was now focusing its fire on the other human ships. They needed a decisive blow to turn the tide once and for all. "I'm on it," Ethan replied, determination flooding his veins. He maneuvered the ship with precision, weaving through the wreckage and alien fighters, closing in on the warship's remaining weapon systems. "Here we go," Ethan shouted as he lined up his shot. With a deep breath, he pressed the firing button, releasing a concentrated blast of energy directly at the warship's core. The shot struck true, and the warship shook violently. The energy core reacted with a blinding flash, sending a shockwave that rippled through space. Orion's edge rattled, and for a moment, everything went silent. Ethan and Mira exchanged glances, both breathless. The alien warship began to crumble, its once mighty frame breaking apart under the force of the blast. Explosions erupted in rapid succession, sending debris scattering across the void. "We did it," Mira cried out, exhilaration washing over her. "We actually did it." But the victory was short-lived. The remaining alien fighters, realizing their flagship was lost, began to retreat. Their once unified formation splintered, and chaos ensued. Ethan quickly sent a message to the support ships. "Chase them down. Don't let them regroup." As the human fleet pursued the fleeing aliens, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and relief. They had faced insurmountable odds and had emerged victorious. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they would not be underestimated. "Great job, team," Mira said, her voice filled with emotion. "We've turned the tide today." Ethan smiled, knowing that this battle would be remembered. Humanity had proven their strength and resilience, and now they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the remaining ships scattered, he felt a surge of hope for the future, knowing that together they could accomplish anything.